Lion Squad, what's good? Them people's a putty. Yeah, me know enough how now follow this Niah craze that's been going on, especially on the TikTok. You know, not go on too much on it. For the most part, what you see on the YouTube, I just what them get off at TikTok, I report on TikTok. It's a TikTok thing, you see? And ones and ones without if you get involved in it. So we get involved in it, you see? At the early stage. And then me let it go. And then when them ask me, they take it up again. So I have to do some catching up. I have a video there where me left up, what me do in the past, but me leave it up. There's a reason why me leave it up still. You see? But the video was totally incorrect. You know, but I left it up there for a reason, for purpose. You know. So just to show that, you know, we make mistakes. We're not infallible, and also to show how false information can mislead one. You see? But me up to speed right now on it. You know, get to know all who's who and all the players. You see, talk to Leonard, talk to Bread, talk to L.A. Lewis, Bubba them. I talk to Crux, Stacey, Yardi them, Bashi. You know, all who was involved in it. You know, talk to most of the Bread team, them back and forth with them over there in the TikTok space. You see me? So, well-rounded pan where I go on with it, you see? However, there's this attitude surrounding this whole thing, and the attitude is being permeated from out of, you know, crushbread, you know, team crushbread. And it seems like, you know, anybody who's not agreeing with his narrative becomes an enemy automatically. And to the end of the day, he has, you know, justice for Niah after one Mr. Bread on TikTok. It just sounds like, you know, one big mockery to me now that I know what's going on. You see? And looking at the evidence that's out there. You dig? It's an ongoing saga, but pretty much I'm satisfied now at this point with what I believe to be what happened. You see? And, you know, there's a lot of distraction, propaganda, a lot of matrix shit happening that, you know, Crushbread is playing, and he's really good at it, you know. Don't underestimate him. You know, he's really good at manipulating the masses. You know, he's learned it. Don't know where he learned it from, but he definitely learned it, and he's using it, you know, with great efficiency to really distract the people. You understand? So right now, if you're neutral and you're not picking sides, then I can confidently say that all evidence, all roads lead to the steps of Crushbread. You understand? Now, it may sound like that's a side picking, but at this point, you know, it's just picking the side of the evidence. And the evidence from my analysis points to Crushbread without the shadow of a doubt. Because the thing, you know, that most of these people and vloggers are overlooking is how a real homicide or murder case is investigated. What are the elements? What are the protocols, you know, that they must stick to and they must adhere to? They must establish. You understand? Certain things like motive must be established. Without a motive, you don't have a crime, right? So Those things must be established. See? So what I want to point out to those who are really interested in what's going on and knowing the truth, then you have to look at this thing from an investigator's eye. Even though you're not an investigator, you have to look at it from an investigator's eye. You have to ask yourself, what would be the first thing the investigator on the case would be interested in? Let's say Niah just dropped, investigator assigned to the case. What is going to be the first thing he's going to want to know? Take a second. Leave it in the comments, people. You know, drop some likes and comments. Let me hear what y'all thoughts are. The first thing the investigator is going to want to know, and the first question he's going to ask: did Niah have any beef or issues with anyone within the past year or months leading up to his unaliving? That's the first question. Can we answer that question? From what we see out so far, which was mostly put out and published by Crushbread and his team, we can confidently say that the only person that Niah had issues with months and a year prior to his unaliving was Crushbread. That could be easily established. And there's where the case would start. Now, as an investigator, it's your job to look into everything else. So you want to look into, could Leonard be involved in this thing? I've looked it over and over, and I don't see where I can connect Leonard to this situation. In spite of all that you see going around on TikTok and especially on YouTube. On YouTube, it's atrocious. I don't know. It's like somebody getting paid or something. When you look at the videos on YouTube and the angles, mostly all of them. The only one of them that's somewhat on point is what they call it, Raw Shoot Jamaica. You know what I'm saying? My View TV and them they done set for them piece on it already, so they had it on point. You see, they were seeing it the right way. But since then, there's been so much misinformation purposely thrown out there and interjected into the situation, just confuse the situation, make the situation so difficult to look at. But for those of you who especially been in foreign countries outside of Jamaica, like the US, Canada, UK, France, and places, and if you know and understand how the judicial system works and operate in those places, then you would know and understand that the first thing that must be satisfied is the question of whether or not Niah had any issues with anyone. Okay, now when you look at that, guess what happened? When you look at it from that angle, the correct angle, guess what happens? Two names come up. The first name is Crushbread. The second name is Ruger. That's both names that come up. Can't go around it. There's nowhere in it where you see or hear Leonard's name come up. None to tie him to it. In fact, the only time Leonard's name comes up is when the accused, Crushbread, calls his name. No one else calls Leonard's name in regards to having anything to do with Niah unaliving. I've spoken to Niah's families and friends, yeah, and they have all indicated to me that prior to Niah's unaliving, the only person he had any issues with was Crushbread, who was blaming him and Niah gang for the stabbing up of his brother Biggs and for the unaliving or the shooting of his other brother, right? Even though having knowledge that Niah had nothing to do with the shooting of his other brother, he still decided he was going to use it in attempts to extort $1 million from Niah and $1 million from Steersa. You dig? Because of it, refusal to pay, Niah them had to take with himself and disappear for a while. Then it seems like they were just humbled and tricked into coming back into the garrison untimely, where Niah would eventually meet his untimely demise. Unfortunate, so unfortunate. And since then, the whole TikTok thing has been ablaze about it. TikTok will not let it go. They refuse to let it go. You know, they want something to come out of it. They want justice. You know, because this crime was one of those crimes that was supposed to happen live on camera. You were supposed to see a young man get his face smashed out right live in front on your smart device, in front of your eyes. That's the view, the visual you were supposed to be stuck with. That was the plan, to have the whole world who sees this stuck with that in their head. Now you stop for a second, just think about that. Just think about it for a minute. Just hold a silence and just think about that. You know what I mean? Let the weight and gravity of that sit on your shoulders for a minute. What the intentions were supposed to be. But luckily, Niah's reaction was fast enough to not let that happen. However, too slow to not be caught. And a person just slap out the youth head, beard, going in bed, take a sleep like it was nothing, all in a day's work. You hear all type of stories and rumors. Biggs walking up and down with strange man and this and that a week before. All of that stuff. You know, they call Ruger name out of it. Get pulled up out, get called up as the neighbor. Ruger is the neighbor. Ruger is the person Niah was arguing with on video at the back gate. So those two names would be prevalent to me as an investigator, Ruger and Crushbread. Those are the first two names I would have on my mind. You understand? Where would I get that information from? I would have gotten that from Niah's friends, from his family. I would have also gotten that from Crushbread, best friend, right-hand man. By you know, Crushbread told us Parker was his right-hand man. Musai, all of these people corroborated this theory, you know, or what was being said. Steersa got off of the cross, said God there, say you send come ask for $1 million piece, and then your winner get you send a rifleman our foot, right? By Bread's own admittance, Niah and them did have to run away, take with themselves from the community, because to prevent him from being able to time pedal them. So them take with themselves for a little while. And then they were tricked to come back into the community, right? Thinking that everything was okay. And everything was not okay. You see? And they relaxed, Niah relaxed his guard just a little too much and allowed the perpetrator to get the drop on him and sneak up on him. You know? But we going through it. We going through it. So I'm going to take my time on bringing in all the liquor reports them. When But me pick up from over there and we are going over there. So I take my time now and going to them. So this is the first one. And when me I deal with in this one as far as investigation, me I show on a set. The first thing an investigator is going to want to know when he come on the scene or get the case is, did Niah have any issues with anybody? Right? Did he have any issues with anybody prior to his untimely death? Right? We hear that he did have issues. And people of Panton Lane identified who he would have had those issues with. And Crushbread has been identified the most. You know what I mean? There's other little strange things that happen around it that we'll get into it. But for now, in this investigation process, I want the people to know, just think about it. What's the first question the detective's going to want to know? Forget about all of what you hear. Leonard lied about this and who Crush lied. Forget about all of that. Forget about all of that. None of that matters. Who killed who and who's a Don and who's this. None of that matters. Right? At this point right now where we at, none of it matters. We're just looking at the facts. And the facts are, Niah was unalived. Okay? That's the fact. And the facts are, prior to his unaliving, he had big problems with one Crushbread. That's it. And he had a less, more insignificant situation with his neighbor, Ruger. Right? But that was just a suck him out of argument overnight. So no one would think that it would really go that far. Those things don't normally go that far. That's usually where it ends. But for it to go that far, to go the extra mile to where it appears that Ruger has something could actually be the trigger man, then I would say some bigger influence had stepped in to ensure that Ruger would make up his mind and participate in this egregious act. You understand, people? So just take your time and analyze everything. And like I said, ask yourself, which is the first question you're going to want to know. Any parent, anything. Was Niah I was falling asleep on that one there, people. You know what I mean? What was I saying now? Was Niah in any problems with anybody prior to his unaliving? And if you're real with yourself, listen. Don't just talk what you hear Crushbread saying. Listen to what Niah's families and friends and others of Panton Lane have to say. And what they have to say, all of them, is that Niah and Niah gang was being pressured by Crushbread and his team. Nowhere is Leonard mentioned until Crushbread opens his mouth and calls Leonard's name. Ever since then now, we've been trying to find ways to attach Leonard to this motive, but again, we fail miserably. The brain is a terrible thing to waste. You know, I just woke up. I swear. My last sentence, whatever was said, I was sleeping, but my brain was just talking. You know, I didn't know what I was saying, but I'm sure whatever it was, my brain was, didn't let me down. It's crazy. I'm that tired, people. I'm tired for real. I'm about to go to sleep after this. You see me? Yeah, man. So that's where I'm at on this first one here. Just wanting to check that out first. What's the first thing a detective is going to want to know? The first question he's going to ask. And in asking that question, what's the answer he's going to get back from looking at all the information that's out there? And most of all the information that's out there is put out there by one Crushbread and his team. Keep that in mind, people. You understand? So that's the first part as we begin to walk this situation to a conclusion. In the meantime, in between time, when I don't know enough people's Lion Squad, we out.